It was nearly midnight when Amelia Gray, a young documentary filmmaker, arrived at Highgate Cemetery in North London. The gates were long closed to the public, but her contact, an elderly caretaker named Mr. Wren, had agreed to let her in for one night, on the condition that she left before the last light. She assumed it was just a local superstition meant to spook tourists. The cemetery was vast and overgrown, its winding paths flanked by mausoleums, cracked angels, and ivy-draped tombstones that leaned as though whispering to each other. The night was damp, fog curling low over the ground. Amelia carried a camera and a small flashlight, its beam slicing the mist as she followed Mr. Wren toward the Circle of Lebanon, a ring of ancient vaults older than most of London's modern streets. "Don't linger here," Wren muttered, his voice low and strained. "The ones who remain, they don't like to be filmed." Amelia chuckled nervously, thinking of how well this would play in her horror documentary. They passed the Egyptian Avenue, two towering stone obelisks framing a passage, so narrow that the darkness inside looked solid. Something about the air changed as she stepped through. It felt thicker, colder, as if she had passed through a veil. When they reached the western catacombs, Mr. Wren stopped abruptly. "From here you go alone," he said. "I'll wait at the gate. If you hear the bells, run toward the light." His warning echoed in the hollow passage, and before she could ask more, he turned and vanished into the fog. Amelia set up her camera. The walls were lined with stone niches, each holding a coffin sealed with corroded brass plates. She adjusted her lens to capture the eerie carvings of weeping cherubs. That's when she noticed one coffin lid was ajar, a dark gap just wide enough for a hand to slip through. Something moved inside. She froze. The gap widened with a slow creak, and from the darkness within, a pale hand slid out, not flesh, but something brittle, almost parchment-like. Then came the sound. Faint, hollow, deliberate. The ringing of a single bell. She turned. Down the corridor, a shadow moved between the flickers of her flashlight. It wasn't walking, it was gliding. Its face was hidden under a deep black hood, but she could hear it breathing, slow, wet, and ragged. In its hand it carried a lantern, and within the lantern was no flame, but a swirling darkness that seemed to devour the light around it. The bell rang again. She backed away, tripping over the uneven stone floor. Her camera slipped from her hands, clattering to the ground. She grabbed it, pointing it toward the figure, but when she looked through the viewfinder, the lens showed not the catacomb she stood in, but a mass of pale faces pressed against the glass, their mouths open in silent screams. The figure's lantern began to glow faintly, pulling at her shadow, stretching it across the floor toward the ajar coffin. The cold became suffocating. Her breaths came in ragged gasps, and she remembered Mr. Wren's words, "Run toward the light." She bolted through the Egyptian Avenue, the shadows clawing at her from the walls. The fog outside was blinding, the paths twisting endlessly. Behind her, the bell tolled faster, closer. Through the mist, she saw it, a faint golden glow near the cemetery gates. She pushed herself harder, every step like running through water. She burst out into the open just as the bell rang one final time. Mr. Wren was waiting. Without a word, he slammed the gates shut behind her. The glow faded instantly, leaving only the yellow street lamps of Swain's Lane. Amelia looked back. Beyond the bars, the figure stood motionless at the edge of the fog, its lantern dark now. Slowly, it raised a hand and touched the gate, and frost spread across the iron where its fingers had been. "Never come back after dark," Mr. Wren said quietly. "You've been marked." When she reviewed her footage later, the last frame before she escaped wasn't of the gate, or the figure, or even the cemetery. It was of her own face, pale, dead-eyed, and standing inside an open coffin.